Trump is back from his meeting with Putin. We're going to wrap this thing up with the big conclusion before I inform you completely on what we need to know. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. The beloved Miss Tenaple and my son are still in Japan. So last night I finally got some sleep. I was up the night before without her. I don't sleep well without her. We've been married 35 years. So I'm flying solo in the house. Actually, my youngest son is here, who's a poolie in the Marines. He could go into boot camp anytime between now and December when they pick him. But let's get to the big conversation here. This is Trump with his conclusion from just an hour ago on Twitter. A great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with President Vladimir Putin of Russia went very well, as did last night's phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine and various European leaders, including the highly respected Secretary General of NATO. It was determined by all the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. So this is Trump. I'm going to just call it like it is, guys. He went in going for a ceasefire and he didn't get it. And so I don't care. We can spin it all ways. Democrats are going to try and take shots at him.
President Trump, I just saw your press conference with President Putin, and it was embarrassing. I mean, you stood there like a little wet noodle, like a little fanboy. I mean, I was asking myself, when are you going to ask him for an autograph or for a selfie or something like that? I mean, you literally sold out at this press conference our intelligence community, our justice system, and worst of all, our country.
I disagree with all that. Republicans and MAGA, we're going to come out and defend him as if everything's hunky-dory. No, this is a loss for Trump. He does not control Putin. He can make promises, but in the end, Putin and Zelensky are their own world leaders, and the Trump MAGA art of the deal only goes so far. It's very important that he get in with the art of the deal, because I'm going to show you all of the positive things that are going to come out of this. But Trump lost his ceasefire desire, okay? And so now he has to come up with a new deal, and he's presenting a stronger deal. So instead of a mere ceasefire agreement, he wants a peace agreement. So he upped the stakes. That's art of the deal. President Zelensky will be coming to D.C. in the Oval Office on Monday afternoon. That's this coming week. That will be all the news on Monday. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially, millions of people's lives will be saved. Thank you for your attention on this matter. This is actually great news to me. I do think that President should be talking to Putin. Putin offered him to come to Moscow, and Trump goes, I don't know about that. It's dangerous, and it's just not a good place to be for him. But I do think he should continue to develop his relationship with Putin. He also needs to develop his relationship with Zelensky. And so it's great that they're coming in on Monday. Now, to the isolationists, they just go, look, we should just pull out of NATO. Fine. We shouldn't involve anything with any other country. No aid ever. Stay out of all foreign entanglements. Just don't talk to anyone. That is not how you avoid conflicts that could end up affecting us and hurting us. He's doing war by other means, which is negotiations and peace. And I think if you can talk these people down, and Trump has a very good shot at it, at ending this war, that's going to be good. And it's part of his responsibility as a leader, guys. He's not just the president of the United States. I think it's immoral, if you have the power to stop a war, to not stop a war. Monetary costs, he's already flipped the NATO payments, which is brilliant. You know, everyone he's demanding the other countries give 5% of their GDP to NATO or whatever to fund the war in Ukraine instead of us. He's going to talk about that later in this video. I think it's very important to do that, and he's flipped it in a great way. He got NATO, got all of them to cough in their GDP to pay us to manufacture weapons for them. So we win. We're going to get all of their military industrial complex funding our factories and our militia. which helps also strengthen and build our ability to produce bombs. Here's Trump on Air Force One with the overall philosophy. And again, this is a very different tone than you'd usually hear from one of our statesmen. Here's Trump with Bret Baier on Air Force One.
It's not for me to negotiate a deal for Ukraine, but I can certainly set the table to negotiate the deal. And our next meeting will have President Zelensky and President Putin and probably me. I'd like to focus on doing our country, but, I get these interruptions. I've solved 6 wars in 6 months when you think about it.
He'd like to just stay focused on our country, but it's very different when you're not the president. Everything's theory until you become president. So all the armchair people can just say, don't touch anything. He's like, he'd like to focus on, and he's doing fine with our country. He's doing great. So it's not like he's, he can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. But you can tell this is a secondary goal of his to end these wars. He does it. It's easy. It's not costing him anything to do this. Here's more on we're going to talk about some of the fallout here. Trump held a hour-long call with Zelensky. Now, think of all the intel Trump gained by going and talking to Putin. That Zelensky doesn't have access to that unless they have spies. They have to second guess each other. They're trying to kill each other, right? And Trump got all of this intel on Putin. And he calls Zelensky. Trump is now the smartest man in the room. He has the most direct information. He has a very tight, close, good relationship with Putin, which I think he developed on this trip, even though he said he would walk out if he doesn't get his ceasefire. He did not walk out. And remember, it was Reagan who walked out of the meeting with, was it Gorbachev? When he didn't get what he wanted. And everyone saw that as super tough. Yes, Reagan was super tough. He did it right. But Trump got enough from Putin to not walk out of the room. But he'll be called a taco. Trump always chickens out. And that's not true either. I think he's actually a very good statesman, a very good representative of the United States to Putin. So he was on an hour-long talk with Zelensky. Then G7 NATO leaders joined. Trump spoke with Zelensky for an hour from Air Force One, joined by Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff. And remember, Marco Rubio, it's important because every 4 years we swap out our president. So you want MAGA to win in the next election in 2028 so we can extend our muscular influence in a MAGA way, not Rhino Republican way, and definitely not Democrat way. You want to push it into the future. So it's important. It's great that Marco Rubio is there. If Marco Rubio is vice president to JD Vance when he wins, we're going to be a step ahead on that whole relationship. Just showing you how this is incredibly good, incredibly adult way that Trump handled himself. Afterward, leaders from the UK, France, Italy, Germany, Finland, Poland, NATO's Mark Rutte, and EU chief von der Leyen joined for a 30-minute call. That's Trump talking to all of the world leaders on a phone call from Air Force One just on the way home, doing a little business and maintenance, talking strategy with them, with the wisest insight into Putin. The focus, next steps after the Putin summit, they're going to talk to more people. Here's Trump, lands in Maryland after the Putin peace summit. He returned to Maryland in a high-stakes summit with Vladimir Putin, highest stakes since 2018. Here's Trump he thinks Ukraine is very close to the deal. This is from last night from Benny Johnson. So, this is some of the fill that Trump is offering post-meeting.
The meeting was a very warm meeting. He's a strong guy. He's tough as hell and all of that. But the meeting was a very warm meeting between two very important countries. And it's very good when they get along. I think we're pretty close to a deal. Now, look, Ukraine has to agree to it. Maybe they'll say no, because Biden handed out money like it was candy, and Europe gave him a lot of money. We gave him $350 billion. Europe gave him much less, but still a lot, $100 billion.
Now, the point is everyone's giving billions to fund this war. And to me, that's stupid. Because if no one gave money to the war, Ukraine would be done. They would be owned by Russia. So the only question is it wise to keep Russia from owning Ukraine? And how much should it cost? Now, it's great seeing Trump meet Putin. CNN hates it, tells you everything you need to know. So this is just a clip from Jack Posobiec. CNN reported Trump was angry at Putin after the meeting, and we're just going to look at their body language here. Does this look like he's angry with Putin? Look at these two men chumming it up. I really think friendship or respect between Trump and Putin, look at that, that's respect, is a very good thing for peace. Again, I want to see something come of this. So there's two ways to negotiate, right? Carrot and stick. Everyone only knows stick with Putin. Bomb him, assassinate him, take him out, strong arm him. And Trump is our carrot. Orange man, carrot. He is doing friendlier things. He did the same thing with Rocket Man when he met him. And I think it's very good statecraft. Now we're going to get into, I wanted to go to John Solomon at Just the News because he's someone I respect a lot. This is his take on the post-Trump that the Democrats are trying to say it was a huge failure. And he's going to, if there's any good news, he's very sober about it. As President Donald Trump has achieved historic peace deals across the globe, media treatment of his presidency is on track to resemble the predetermined critical nature shown in Trump's first term. Near the 100th day of his second term, Media Research Center, a conservative leading media watchdog, found that 92% of mainstream media coverage of Trump has been consistently negative. So we already know what they're going to say about this meeting, right? 92% negative. The contrast to former President Joe Biden, who enjoyed 59% positive news coverage, though he never did anything. His biggest world accomplishment was destroying us, surrendering in Afghanistan, the biggest debacle ever, shows a glaring double standard when it comes to recognizing White House success, particularly in the era of foreign policy. A Google search yielded no footage of U.S. networks covering the historic landing of the El Al jet in UAE in 2020 after the adoption of the Abraham Accords. So he's giving all the negative on them. On Friday, Trump and President Putin conducted a press conference at Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson, and Anchorage, Alaska, after discussions aimed at resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. On stage, featuring a Pursuing Peace banner, both leaders signified their intent to broker a ceasefire, though no deal was revealed. That Pursuing Peace banner, by the way, was huge. It's marketing. You have Putin and Trump meeting on a stage with the giant words "Pursuing Peace." That's Trump's message to Putin. And Putin came on our land and stood under that banner. Good marketing. Furthermore, Putin ended his remarks by affirming that Trump has alleged for many years, which is the Russian-Ukraine conflict would not have transpired if Trump was in office in 2022 when the war broke out. We're going to get to that quote where Putin admits that if Trump was in office, not Biden, this war would never have happened. Trump characterized the talks as extremely productive, saying the two men made great progress. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there, Trump told the press. This is Trump eating some crow, having to be humble yet positive, still keeping a firm grip on the situation, trying to. Last month, Trump facilitated a ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand. These are all the positive things that he did. Or he goes into the Taliban takeover of Kabul in Afghanistan under Biden, which we mentioned. This is for contrast of what Biden did and how the Democrats downplayed that disaster. So this is just some good media savvy stuff. Nothing real big on the outcome of this whole story, but there's more here. Elon Musk, can you address this? This is Brian Cranstein. This is what he said. This is a Democrat pro-Ukraine. They should have had snipers in Anchorage, Alaska, ready to take him out as soon as he shrugged. He asked for an assassination. Here he is down here. Correction, we should have poisoned him instead. Make it less obvious. That's just not good. And by the way, his account was frozen on X for asking for the assassination of a world leader. Democrats are psycho. They only know the stick. By the way, I don't even think it would help if you took out Putin. I don't believe he's Putin strong. This is my own opinion of the guy, and I'll show you a little bit coming up here. I think Putin is a Manchurian candidate, a kind of a puppet, and the oligarchs actually run that country. I think there's a lot of evidence for that. The men that he brought with him in this meeting with Trump are the real ones in charge of his country. And he is subservient to them. He's strangled by them, and he will not act outside of what they want. That's my opinion of that country, and I think I can back it up a little bit here. Here's one of them. This is fascinating footage to me. This is a pro-Putin media source. He got press access. He's going to show you a behind the scenes of all of the press.
Now, we're here at the press center, but probably everybody's already seen this area. But I'm about to take you to a whole other part
Our military guarding.
Not a lot of people.
So he just showed you kind of the cafeteria area where they all, the press is outside on all their fold-out tables in Alaska. I want to show you how huge this operation is. This shows all the behind-the-scenes cameras and handlers
able to go right now, because that is the room where the press conference with both presidents is going to be held in just a few hours.
He's heading up to the pursuing
And we are in.
stage. That's the stage from the back, you'll see.
Because we have special access, because we're part of
This gal's checking his
the
badge.
tight pool, as it's called. So this is where it's going to be.
This guy got a
In
third
just a
row
few hours.
seat.
Both presidents will be speaking from there. We can see who out of the Russian delegation will be here. And this is where Putin's special representative envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, one of the key participants of the negotiations, will.
So he's showing you, these are the oligarchs that actually run the country. And by the way, you can see also on each seat, it's a little headphones and this little broadcast unit that allows a live translation to all of them. So all of these front rows, anyone speaking another language gets a translator in their ear.
Sitting. And here in the first row, this is where Foreign Minister Lavrov will be sitting. And this is another Putin's envoy, Yuri Ushakov. They will be sitting here in the first row.
Now, all those seats, just to make a note, this is what I mean by Putin is not in charge of his own country. This meeting initially, when Trump announced it, it was going to be a private meeting between just Trump and Putin. And then suddenly it came down to 3 of each guy's side was going to be at the meeting. So Trump brought Marco Rubio and 2 others, and Putin had his oligarchs. And that's because I believe, not because Marco Rubio's in charge of our state. He's not. Trump had to just fill his seats. It's Putin's run by those 3 oligarchs of his country. And so there can't be a peace deal without them. That's my theory. That's why I think this went from a one-on-one private meeting to a 4-on-4 meeting, which gave Putin a little more wiggle room. But I don't think Putin's in charge. Now, here's Laura Ingraham with the actual clip where Putin admits to everyone he would not have invaded Ukraine if Trump was president.
Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, businesslike and trustworthy contact.
So this, that's him. That's the biggest bombshell of the whole meeting. You know, everyone's arguing about, do we fund this? Do we send missiles? What are we going to do? How do we manipulate NATO? Let's have all these meetings. All of this could have been avoided if America didn't put an X next to a Democrat. Democrats cause war. Weakness cause war. The way that you make peace is you prepare for war. You up all your military, you project strength, and suddenly every little dictator in the world doesn't think they can take over a country. So all the Democrats can complain about Trump all they want. They just heard from Putin himself. I don't know how reliable he is, but Putin himself confirmed he would not have gone into Ukraine under Trump, period. Now, on developing our relationship, I just want to show you, this is a cool act of kindness. This is the American jet escorted Putin's plane back to Russia. Putin is being guarded by our Air Force as we walk him back to Russia. This is incredible statecraft. Putin's plane escorted by our plane. Very cool. I'm going to show you the significance of this. Why is that significant? Well, I'm going to take you back in time to a time. This is how Russian aircraft treats us in the air. We have, that's a good guy ship right there. Now watch this Russian aircraft push him out of the way. That's a back off move. And violent and aggressive. That's how wars are started, by the way, if there's a collision. I got another one for you. Here's another one. This is one of our pilots. This is the Su-35S pilot showed the American F-16 that it is not worth approaching the Russian Tu-95 MS strategic bomber, filmed on September 23rd near Alaska. So there's a bomber. This over here is the Russian bomber and this is our pilot going to look at that bomber, and watch this move. Here we are. We're heading toward the bomber. Checking it out. And boom. That's a Russian aircraft flying us. That is a very bad move. And our pilot didn't see him coming. It came from nowhere. Not good. So this is why developing a friendship with Putin, not to help him pull off a war, but it's good for us. And then this is my imitation of me learning about Ukraine, because I'm a barely literate comic book artist who knows nothing. This is Cranstein, or whatever his name is, stumping Ann Coulter. Watch this.
He definitely wants all of Ukraine. It is historically part of Russia. I'm not defending him. He invaded the country. Shouldn't have done that. But that's what he wants. He's made it very clear.
Not all of Ukraine's historically part of Russia, but fine. I'm from Russia, so.
Look at this long, she's not frozen there. This is a long pause as she's thinking.
Where did the word for Ukraine come from?
It means borderland.
There's a Russian word, and it was something like Ukraine or something. I'm talking
Kraina, but that's a Ukrainian word. It means borderland. So Western Ukraine used to be part of Poland. Eastern Ukraine was part of Russia, and most of southern Ukraine.
Okay, I'm not believing you, but
You're not believing?
No.
Why not? What do you mean you're not believing me?
I want to go look it up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me talking about Ukraine because I know nothing. We're learning. That's why I'm doing these videos, to give us more backfill. I hope you've learned something. I've enjoyed learning more about this more than ever. And everyone wants to, everyone knows all the facts, going, get out of NATO. We don't know that. Stop funding Ukraine. I don't know that. I know I don't want to fund Ukraine. I want to feed our people and take care of us. But you can easily see how if you go right instead of left with statecraft, if Trump does something wrong, the way Biden did, you cause a war by just being an isolationist and being an idiot, being a man in a coma. And if just imagine Kamala Harris meeting with Putin, what would she do? She'd go out there and she'd probably try and assassinate him. They'd probably just blow the meeting. Positive came out of this is my point. I thank God that Trump is our president. I feel even more confident in what he's doing over there. And this story doesn't end, because Monday, Zelensky comes to America and Trump deals with Zelensky, the man with no cards, and NATO. I hope you like this kind of content. I hope you'll subscribe. I'm trying to get up to 600,000 subs. I'm Doug in Exile.